Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
What's up, everyone? We are officially back.
Officially back.
First off, I have to, it's going to be my apology. Look, the last video that we did, we've been kind of half-assing this, right?
Big time.
And so the apology is that all that pathetic attempt of trying to do this podcast video thing, we've now leveraged it out.
Yep.
Because the last one that you probably saw that we kept up was awful. Garbage. And that's a little bit my fault. I was on the road. We couldn't get the software to work correctly. Kelderman, and he took the reins and had poor connection. And so, we do apologize for that. And so we've now leveraged this out to professionals.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, let's go into what we've talked about of why we're leveraging this out and why we kept that up in the first place. And then let's go into how our businesses are right now.
Yeah, man. It was just, I think why we left it up, it's funny because I actually talked to Elizabeth about it too. It was super bad, but it was kind of the final straw for us realizing that we had taken on way too much. We all love doing this, I think, and I feel like we get a pretty good response from it and people get a lot from it. But, we had Kyle come on who had such amazing content, and it was just the final straw. And look, we've drugged somebody else into this now, and then we put out this horse shit. And so, we left it up as a reminder to ourselves. It was the final piece of driving us back in here. Plus, honestly, us being in the same room together is way better anyways.
Yeah.
So we found professionals.
So is worth exploring. Why was it so bad before?
Well, I mean, technically the audio was god awful.
Right.
Apparently, I don't know how to bring someone into a live video while also using the camera and the mic on the phone, because the feedback on my end was horrendous. Nick said it before we went on. He's like, dude, because I was embarrassed. Nick's like, no, you were pissed. Yeah. And my wife hopped off 5 minutes in because she's like, I know you, and I couldn't watch that. She's like, I felt bad. But look, dude, it got us in here, which is what we've been needing to do for the past 5 months, right? Some consistency. This is every week for a year, right? It's awesome in here. This place is sweet.
But I mean, the simple answer is that it was bad because just like what a lot of people do in their businesses, we were trying to be experts at shit that we have no idea how to do. And we're too stubborn to just leverage it out to somebody who did, because, for whatever reason, time, money, whatever, our busy schedule, stuff like that, we're really good at arguing with each other about what we should be doing with this show and all the cool things we could do with it. And then when it comes time to actually go wow, we really need to know how to do this to do what we're trying to do, we just wouldn't do it. And we get back to our comfort zones and running our businesses and stuff. So we finally took the leap and said, if we're going to make this happen, we need to leverage it out to professionals. That's sort of a jumping off point for, I think, where we're headed with this as far as our businesses today, because now we've taken the reins and done what we're supposed to do.
Well, a little bit. I mean, it's the same way of committing to our lead gen, right? If your business is suffering right now, and this is going to be rehashing a little bit of last year, but if it's suffering right now because you're only lead genning 1 day a week, and you're like, man, this business doesn't work, or it sucks.
Yep.
I mean, it's the same way when we were half-assing the show and not making a commitment. Every week we've signed up for this, and it's like coaching, right? So it's the same thing that you can do in your business of making a commitment that, hey, I'm going to do 3 days a week of Legion. I'm going to do 5 days. I'm going to join a team, whatever it is. Then, you need to make that commitment and hire somebody or get an accountability partner. This is our accountability structure here.
Absolutely.
So what are your business 2019? What are your businesses looking like right now? What are we struggling out? Because we're all frustrated a little bit.
Right.
Market shift. We talked about it last year. It's still shifting.
Yeah.
So there's frustration points everywhere. Kelderman, what do you got?
We're from a volume standpoint, because last year was our first year, right? Our numbers look good.
Yeah.
Because they were based off nothing from the year before, so they're 100% better. My biggest thing is from a team leader aspect is just finding people who are willing to do exactly what you're talking about, right? The activity stuff. it was a long, dark winter that took a while to get through. Business is starting to pop off again. You were in our office the other day. Our contract board's looking pretty good. We're happy with the pendings we have right now moving into the spring, but it's keeping everybody in that activity because as agents get even a little bit busier, Tanner on our teams got kind of busy in January, so his lead gen slipped. And he got on the phones yesterday, and after every call, he was like, dude, I'm getting my ass kicked, or that person sucked, or whatever. I'm like, you're going back to the gym after 3 weeks. Like, you're going to be sore, man. You haven't done anything in a month. So I think just getting back into activity a little bit with the new year coming, because people are out there moving around. That's been what we've struggled with the most, is just doing that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we are off production-wise to an incredibly average start, which I'm not happy with. I'm not mad about. One of the things that's really different for us from last year is that we're coming into the year with a lot of listings, which is good and bad because we're carrying a lot of listings over from last year that we haven't put under contract yet. It's also allowing us to leverage those listings into more business. It's easier to get listings when you have listings. So we're coming into the year with a head of steam like that, I think. We're having a lot different conversations, I think, right now than we were in February of last year.
Yeah.
Because for me, I mean, no matter how hard I try to slice up the numbers and make it look like, the focus should be on the things that I want it to be on, like nerding out on online leads and building all that stuff and building my robots like I'm doing right now every day.
Yeah.
We have so much sphere business every year. There's such a huge percentage of what we do that we need to get back to those basics.
Well, are you guys too, like bringing up the listings carrying over? You guys are probably experiencing this. We're still getting, we're not getting them in the first week, but I'm even less kind of reactive to price reductions right now because we're having stuff that's still on the market for 45 days, and then somebody comes along and gives us what we're asking for, and it appraises, right?
Yeah, we had one for it was on the market for 6 months with another agent, expired, was on the market 3 months with us, and we still got full price for it.
Yeah, so it's like some of that reactionary stuff, especially with me being in the business the whole hot time. I'm like, we don't have an offer in 10 days. We got to do something, right? Like I'm having to adjust that because listings are sitting longer, but they're still selling.
Well, that's where the patience comes in, right? And that's where you start getting your systems in place to service your clients.
Yep.
Because before your service was 10 days, 5 days to getting a contract.
Right.
Then it's all right. They can breathe a sigh of relief because now they're just waiting for it to close. But now you have to service them on a weekly, daily, every other day basis because they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing different that today that you didn't do yesterday to try to find that right buyer?
Absolutely.
And not a price adjustment doesn't always work, but there's times when you start getting strategic with price adjustments, maybe a little bit smaller, 500 here, 1,000 there, to get re-engagement going. So absolutely, you got to start building that plan out, right? And our benefit is we already had that in place from the recession days, so that's natural to us. It's just going back to that. The frustrating part is, our agents are newer, so they've only experienced houses selling quickly.
Yeah.
So they get defeated when they take a listing. They're all excited, right? They're like, it's the best day ever. I'm going to make some money really fast. And then 30, 60, 90 days goes by and that hasn't sold yet. Or we're getting fired at times because the seller changes their mind. They're like, screw it, I'm just going to stay in the house.
Right.
And that takes the wind out of their sail, and that affects their lead generation time. So there's a lot more that we've got to focus on motivating our agents, also not overpricing, because I'm going to say there's some people on my team right now that are taking some overpriced listings that they shouldn't be, and they know who they are.
As he looks into the camera.
Yeah. I mean, we're working every day. We're working on that.
Yeah.
Right. So our frustration right now is like, hey, we took a good amount of listings in January. It's like 18. I think it was 20. We had a couple.
That's
of people.
badass, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it was good. Now we took 14 last year at the same time.
Right.
So far in February, we've taken 1.
Yeah.
So I mean, we see that listing activity coming. So eventually there should be a payday from it. But it's what can you do now with the leads that are coming in instead of spending more money. How are we going to convert better at what we have? Yep. So we're looking at better open house opportunities, better sign. How can we work the sign calls a lot better? So it's going back to old school methods instead of getting, instead of diving more into Facebook that me and you like to get lost in, and trying to determine what's the best activities to get paid for 2019.
Yep. Well, I think another thing you can do, I had the agents on our team go through their database and write down everybody that they thought was a closed deal in the first 2 quarters. And every single one of them came to me and were like, dude, there's way more people in my pipeline than I thought there was.
Yeah.
Right. So having them go through and really look at the business they have and focus on, because we all know there's an endless string of shit in this business. Like, you are never going to leave the office at the end of the day feeling caught up, right? Like, that's never going to happen. So, like, if you're waiting for that day, just embrace the fact I was talking to Chris Myers in the elevator the other day, and he's been at it like 15 years,
right.
and he said that exact same thing to me. He's like, I keep waiting to get caught up, or I said, I'm keep waiting to get caught up. He's like, that ain't gonna happen.
He's still got shit from 15 years ago on that task list.
Exactly. And so, I mean, in the agents, especially if you're listing homes, you need to be comfortable having those conversations with your client, or you can't hide from that every week.
Yeah.
I have a guy right now who, it was an expired listing. I knew he was going to be on my ass about what we were doing and how we were marketing this thing. And it's been out there for a month, and he just agreed to do a pretty significant adjustment today.
Right.
And it's because we're able to justify. We're like, look, we're getting showings. You can see the online activity. And so, he's reached that conclusion. It's not nearly as difficult when you're providing all that information for him too during that time.
Well, it creates an opportunity as well, because, I mean, if you look at just think about how many realtors haven't really even been in the business long enough to have to talk to clients for more than a month tops, right? Like, most people don't know how to have those conversations month 3, month 4 that your listings are still in the market. If you're going to really succeed with your database in 2019 and going forward, you need to learn how to generate those referrals by taking excellent care of people while their homes are on the market longer than they're probably perceiving that they're going to be when they go into this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm working with a buyer right now that we're about to put under contract that came from a listing that I got fired from, actually. It ended up expiring. It was just one of those things, and then I fought to get it back with one of Nick's ISAs, and they didn't end up hiring either of us back. But we generated 2 referrals out of it while it was on the market, because we were doing a bang-up job. We were trying as hard as we could. We were communicating well. We have great systems in place so that no matter how long your house is on the market, you always know what we're doing. And we're in constant communication with you. And so I think it creates an opportunity, because whereas when we were selling houses in an hour, it sometimes becomes problematic in the sense that your clients don't feel like you've done anything.
Yeah.
And so it can be difficult to generate those referrals. You've got to have systems in place that convince your clients that you're actually worth a damn, because your house sold so fast that they didn't think that you were even a part of it, really, right? When homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer, it creates an opportunity to have more interpersonal connection with your clients. If you put those systems in place and work them, your clients feel taken care of, and you're more likely to generate referrals while your listings are still on the market. That can absolutely explode your business if you do it right. So there can be opportunity in longer days on market.
So let's bring up some systems talks, because I want to tell you what we're going through, because I had last night, I sent you guys the photos. I jumped back in on some call night lead gen, rusty, right, and trying to figure out Mojo. That used to be my bread and butter, jumping on the dialer. I'm like, shit, how do I even turn this thing on? What's my login, right? But so when I left there, I had this kind of breakdown of, we were so systematized that we're now become inefficient. So I have everything on the board right now of something like everything's on the board to cut, right? It's getting a pink slip if it's over systematized, if it's not returning us, if it's clunky. And so what kind of systems are you guys running? And I'll tell you what I'm running, right? Salesforce for our back-end transaction management, kind of keeping up with our clients, not running a very great 36-touch campaign that should be. We're kind of using Viral for that. Viral does a great job. And then I'm using Commissions Inc., which they're about to get fired, so I'm putting them on blast. But, what systems are you using, and are you over-systematized, or do you feel that you don't have enough in place?
Well, we all know my journey towards systems. I had 0, and that's why I chose to go the expansion route, because I needed help with that. So I feel like we're the perfect amount of systematized, because I had none before. But to your point, I've been ecstatic with the way Boomtown is. Here's what I don't know if other CRMs do this, because I've never used any other high level ones. But my ability to track somebody in that universe, right, from the standpoint of sending them properties, texting, emailing, and calling them out there, and leaving my notes, it makes it super easy. Makes it really easy for us to track what our agents are doing, which is huge. Because we had an agent just recently let go because he lost 2 hot deals I just handed him.
Right.
He dropped the ball on both of them. Right. So So we're using that at a high level. And then the hub with the admin staff, our transaction coordinator is off the charts. I mean, she just does an amazing job. She communicates in a very personal way, which is how I want that going down. So, and then we have all the mix of, dialers and, other little stuff to make the agent more efficient if they're willing to do the activity.
But do you feel the systems talk to each other enough?
No, but I've never felt that about real estate. Like I've always felt like you're trying to piece together, and Brian does this better than anybody, piecing together systems to make one thing work. But you turned me on to Zapier for these Facebook leads I tried running.
Right.
All it did was just kept kicking in my bullshit fake lead that I made every day. It kicked it in twice, and I kept wanting to call Brian, and I was like, he ain't got time to deal with this crap.
I'm about to work with you on that.
I was like, I can't even get the leads to kick in for my Facebook ads. So yeah, I mean, nothing talks to each other well. I think not yet.
I mean, we use a mix of stuff. So we use Brivity as our main CRM, MailChimp, BombBomb, Vulcan 7, lead ads, and then Zapier kind of connects everything that doesn't automatically integrate. But I think one of the problems that we run into, and this is probably, you'd agree with this being what you feel is over systematized right now, is I nerd out on that stuff. I love just I was a kid that played with erector sets.
He almost stopped right there.
Feel like maybe for the younger audience, I got to explain what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
I need things that go together and system. I love that stuff. It just it's what I like to do. What I have to stop myself from is thinking that the more systems I have, the better my business is.
Yeah.
Or pardon my French, but the bigger my dick is, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have more systems and stuff that talks to each other doesn't mean that your business is going to operate more efficiently. The reality is when you become over systematized, you start using everything as a crutch, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest issues that my agents have right now is that they use all of our technology as a crutch, and they use it as an excuse not to actually pick up the phone and call people.
Right.
Right. And they use it as a crutch to not actually take really, really good notes and to really, really memorize their hot leads and what get really connected with these people. And I think that sometimes the more systems you have, the less human this business becomes, and that becomes a huge problem because this is a human business, this is a relationship business, and if you try to remove all of the interpersonal part of it through systems, nobody feels like they're getting real personal service anymore. So that's something we've run into that I'm trying to scale back.
Are you guys leveraging your vendors more? What I'm doing is because I you guys know how relational I am just in general, right? But and I really feel like that's the biggest thing that we can all still do to affect our businesses. And I've been leveraging our vendors a ton for that stuff. I've kind of put them on notice that, hey, if you want us to work with you, you need to be very relational. You need to follow up. We had our lender kicked a deal back in that she'd been nurturing for 4 months. I don't even know who the hell it is, honestly.
Right.
And it came back into one of our agents. You're using them a lot as systems that are human.
Yeah.
And that's helping.
So we're creating, which we've been creating for the last year for this is a lot of my vendors. I'm married to one of them. I have a sister-in-law on the other one, and we've got the mortgage side, et cetera. But so it's a little bit more difficult. But our roofer, Crest Exteriors does an amazing job.
Oh, by the way, they came out to both of my properties the other day. Badass.
Yeah, Logan Graff and Sam. Sam, they're amazing, and they do a great job in taking care of them. So, there's times when I don't necessarily expect referrals from them. I want them to treat my clients so great that my clients feel like VIP. Mm-hmm. Then from there, that will create referral reciprocation from our clients, right? Because we're now that go-to, and hopefully we have more and more of those vendors. So we're creating that style vendor list, and if you're not kicking in some type of contribution, whether it's an MSA style or if it's a referral style, then the service better be there that it's causing the ripple effect of getting referrals from it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So I mean we're getting more and more serious on that. We're going to kick you out if you're not doing one of those.
All of us work way too hard to provide a client experience and keep those clients in. I mean, again, I know I'm the sensitive one of the group, but I get a little bit of a sense of loss at a closing, not because of any other thing that I've been in a relationship with that person for 60 or 90 days, spending a ton of time with them. And then my natural people pleasing, all of a sudden I stop talking to them and I feel like I got broken up with, even though it went well. But I want vendors who maybe don't get quite that neurotic about it, but they're gonna kind of be in there and they care about the reviews. They care about whether or not this tiny little thing went well, because I'll obsess about it.
No, and that's that's a benefit more than it is anything else, because that's where we differ a lot, right? Like, you guys know my ideal job would be sitting in a room alone behind my computer most of the day and not having to talk to people, right? So that's something I don't have at all. When closings are done, I have to force myself to call you like ever again. And I'm sorry. It's not that I don't like my clients. I don't like hardly anybody. It's just my nature, I really
barely even us.
Yeah, I just really have to force myself to really communicate that way. So going forward, that's where I see the future of really anybody's prosperous businesses. I feel like the more technology has a role in business in general, people tend to get desensitized, right? Like, just think about how quickly online lead generation changes, right? Just with Facebook in general, right? Like, before it was, using Facebook ads to drive traffic to a landing page. Now, nobody's going to put their information on a forced registration on a landing page anymore because there's lead ads, right? Everybody's more comfortable to auto-populated lead ads on Facebook. Well, now nobody really wants to do that anymore because people want to do chat bots. They don't want to actually fill out information. They'd rather talk to a robot on Facebook Messenger. And next week it'll be something else, right? And we just get so desensitized to these things that the reality is that people would rather just go and just use the realtor that's their buddy or who somebody refers to them, right? Like, I'm so much less likely these days, because there's so much technology and because we're so desensitized to it, to just call my friend and say, hey, I need to sell my house. Who do you know? Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that's more prevalent now than ever because of the way that we're so hyper-connected.
So we're going retro.
I think that we are. Dude.
Yeah,
right? I feel like these things become cyclical, dude. Like, they become retro. Like, you get so teched out that people just they hit a tipping point, right? It's like a Malcolm Gladwell type tipping point where, like, all this stuff doesn't seem relevant anymore, and we don't want to do it anymore. We just want to get a realtor, and I don't want to be on the internet to do it anymore. I just want to ask my wife, hey, do you know a realtor? We should sell the house.
So,
you know what I mean?
So speaking of that, last year we talked tech way too much, right? I got burned out on, like,
for sure.
It almost caused me, like, all right, I'm tired of talking tech. I think we're overhyping it, et cetera. So that goes into that, right? I think with technology, we're getting so tired of having to think about everything else that we want the people to think for us. Right. So, I mean, we've got clients right now that they'll take our advice if we just tell them what to do in the best way possible. Right. Because it's something that's one less thing they have to think about.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and what we've been teaching is stop, we want to text, we want to email to get a negotiation point across or to get a point across. No, pick up the phone, because it gets miscommunicated within that email or that text. And you're like, no, that's not what I meant. Well, then just pick up the phone and talk to them, please.
Yeah, the client experience is probably more prevalent than ever.
And our Sphere business went up once we started reincorporating that, once we started incorporating community-style client appreciation events, like, going back to our systems, and that's one of them is the 36 Touch campaign. Mm-hmm. That shit works. That's going retro, because I never believed it. I was a one-night stand. I love to chase, right? I love to expires. I'm like, all right, I close them. I'm not like Kelderman, where it's similar. Like, once I'm done, and and we're going to closing, I'm like, all right, this is a sense of relief.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we don't have to keep dating. It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
I can date the next person.
Yeah,
and so but in order to get that relationship there, we also want to add value. So, like, we're doing a date night on February 12th where they're coming to our office, right? We got a new office space in Plano. It's next to a Papa Murphy's. So we're utilizing local business to help them out. And they get a free pizza. And then with a review, a referral, a review and or referral, we'll give them a bottle of wine or soda with it, right?
Nice.
And so we've already gotten 2 or 3 referrals just from it by saying this is what we want.
Really?
And so that's the problem. What we have in this business is we don't communicate what we're wanting out of this.
Right.
Like, out of this show, we all are hoping to get more agents to watch this, follow us, maybe send us all referrals, let us all 3 fight over it, and earn that business.
Exactly.
And or if you're looking to join a team, you only have to interview 3 teams. You're not going to interview all those other bullshit teams out there.
Exactly.
You've got the best here, right? And we truly care about our agents, because the more money they make, the more the company makes.
Yep.
Exactly.
So that's the thought process behind it, is going back old school with that. And I know that you do a really good job with your relationships, but what are you doing with that, with your systems to help with your team to continue building the referrals?
Yep. So we've been, I mean, like, one, we know kind of where I'm at with the referral game, right? Like, that's something that I focus on really strong, especially the agent to agent side of stuff.
But you can't teach that.
But you can't teach it, right? And honestly, it's not business for everybody, because you and I compete on that, right? And I think, first off, I think that's something for everybody to know who watches the show. We're not all three on the same team. We're all literally hiring the same agents, going after the same business all the time. So first off, I want to say, like, you don't have to be an asshole to have success, because we are in direct. Yeah, Brian. We are all in direct competition with each other all the time, and find plenty of space for all of us to have success, and then do stuff like this where we're sharing things, right? I think that's hugely important.
Yeah.
For agents on the system side on our team, it starts with, one, having Jennifer in as the director of operations role, right? Like, having somebody come in who does a little bit more of that. I will say the one thing that I struggled with the most initially was, because I'm a people pleaser, I didn't want to hold people accountable to what they said they were going to do. And that was my biggest disappointment in my first year of learning real estate is, dude, most agents are so full of shit. It is unreal how much people will say they're willing to do and they're not, right? And so we've now implemented this whole thing where it's like, it's kind of a 30-day really test deal where you're coming on the team and showing us that you're willing to put in some effort before we start. You have access to everything, but we're not just going to start handing you leads on day one, because we all know agents who are struggling worry about leads and splits.
Right.
Agents who are successful but are trying to go to the next level worry about leverage and systems. Yep. Right. I want somebody who's concerned about leverage and systems, not splits. Right. Like, you can make money. We'll make money together.
You can make money on the lowest split possible.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
As long as the leverage and systems are there.
And I've had, and my split's not even bad right now, but I've had crazy low splits. I didn't make any more money than I made in 2018 ever, right? That was our best year.
Like, you'll always get the indication of where people's minds are at. If just think, if you made what your splits were, if that was what your take-home profit margin was, how much more money would you make every year?
Well, yeah.
Because you're happy to run 20%?
Yeah.
Me too, right?
Yeah. So, and I think
so
that's
your
the
team
thing
makes more money than you per deal.
Well, but agents who are closing 10 deals a year don't have any costs, right? Like, they think that's going to be the case when they're closing 36, and it's like, no, bro, I've closed 36 on my own. You ain't doing that on no money.
Free.
No. So that's really, like, for us, I think the systemization part of it, where our biggest growth opportunity has been, is not in systems I can go pay for. It's taking agents who are struggling and being able to determine whether it's a training issue, or they just don't get it, or just all the things that come along with that. That's just been my biggest growth in trying to fill those gaps for people.
Yeah, for us it's similar. It's having that backbone, right? Yeah. So we both have our wives that basically run our businesses for us, right? Which I don't know what that says about our marriages, but but yeah, I mean, it's a large part of that client experience goes through our director of operations, which is my wife, Lady. I mean, without her, our client experience would be totally, totally different, because I was notorious for, and I still am notorious for, one of my biggest areas of improvement is, if I'm fine with everything in the way that it's going, that everybody else should be too, right? Yeah. So I was horribly bad at keeping my clients informed about things, like keeping everything on track. As long as I didn't see any red flags, like, I saw no reason to keep everyone else informed. You know what I mean? And so just through her and what she's able to implement, our systems have improved so much. Our client experience has improved so much. But using the technology that we have, not as a crutch, but using it to make sure that we're continuing to connect with our sphere, that we're continuing to provide value and all those types of things. Like, one of the largest endeavors that I've gone in and done is just go and create tons of customized, very specific action plans for different people and different kinds of people within our CRM, down to the silliest and stupidest thing. Like, we've got in there that you need to call and wish them their dog's happy birthday.
I think that's the relationship stuff is great, though.
Yeah. We focus more on that stuff now than we do on calling expireds and stuff like that. Like, I would rather you call and wish somebody's golden retriever a happy birthday on the right day than call 10 expireds and get yelled at 9 times.
This is a new Brian.
Right? Yeah. I know. Look, this show is helping me grow, right? I'm starting to care about people.
Right?
My heart has grown 3 times today.
There you go. All Claw.
Yeah, right? We switched from White Claw to All Call, and now I'm just a different guy.
I know.
So what is... I like that idea, because I've seen his task, right? So, I'm going to call out one of your team members, Nick, who hasn't made his video, or is it Grant who didn't do his open house video yet?
Grant didn't do his open house video.
I'm like,
You're so scared of getting on camera, man.
Yeah.
Talk shit for an hour.
What kind of secret tips ninja tips on that is really getting a good return. So let me give you one of mine that I tested out last night when I was making calls. What I've noticed with making calls, which has changed from the last time I really started hitting the dialer hard back years ago, is that people don't answer the phone, just like I don't if I don't recognize the number. They're texting back.
Yeah.
Who is this?
Yep.
And a lot of times I'm just now sending the text back like, hey, I'm just returning your call. Sorry, I just missed your call and I'm just returning it. When's a good time to call you back to connect?
Yeah.
Who is this? And we start engagement that way. So what I'm noticing is you may not end up talking to them, but you can talk to them through text to start getting that conversation re-engaged. So I'm just sending random text out there that's starting to work because that's what they're doing. Like just hitting that reject button with I'll call you later. Who is this?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that a lot. We've been doing something similar with expireds where we hadn't even been calling we tried a few days where we didn't even call. We literally just texted everybody. And we're like, hey, I know you're getting a ton of calls today, so I just wanted to shoot you this so you could read it whenever you're free.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then whatever we would have said as our opening line on the phone, we would just text it. And it actually got as good or even maybe a better response than calling everybody. Because here's the thing, you get to say your piece, right? If I don't recognize the number and I don't pick up, I don't get the interaction. If I text you, I at least know you got it. And we got plenty of people that just told us to fuck off, obviously.
Yeah.
But we got to that point at least.
Those people were going to tell you, they're going to tell you fuck off.
Yeah,
it
wasn't going to matter, right?
Yeah. Your no's were going to be no's no matter what.
Yeah, 100%.
I like it just because I think, one, we all get the phone calls now, right? It's the first 6 digits of your number, and it comes from Grand Prairie, and it's a robocall every time, right? And then you pick up the phone, it's don't hang up. People are getting hammered with those things right now.
Yeah.
So, and guys, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if in the next 24 months, we may not be allowed to call, period.
I mean, there's always whatever does well in any industry, there's also a counter industry trying to stop it from doing well, right? So we have to be cognizant. That's why I've had this push towards going back to my sphere, or I shouldn't say going back. I was never there in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I'm realizing that if I can systematize that business isn't going anywhere. But getting by on the last 8 years being so transactional, there's always a fight going on as to how I can communicate with people, how they prefer to be communicated with. I always have to learn how to engage with people for the first time. You barely ever have to learn how to re-engage with people if you build those relationships, and that's been huge for me.
What's your ninja tip?
We're meeting people where they're at from a communication standpoint, right? If they're responding to text, we're staying with text. We're not trying to hit them with a phone call. I've been doing the dog thing for a while. I just, again, being so relational, it's so easy for me. All of my phone calls start with, hey, Nick, it's Matt Kelderman. How you doing? Right? I mean, that's how I start every single phone. And it's with that exact same inflection and everything. So, I really think personality has so much to do with it. And then, if somebody's yelling at me on the phone, it's just, I'm so sorry. It's got to be miserable, right? I'll let somebody kind of sit there and say their piece for a second. I haven't used a text message thing for expireds at all.
Yeah, neither have I. I'm stealing that.
I mean, I think
I've got some ideas on that. I'm going to test out first.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'll let you know.
I think it's really good. And then the other thing is just allowing people into my life. I feel like the one thing that I do really well is I try to be obnoxious on Facebook. Yeah. But I don't have any problem being authentically me. Like, I'm not going to tell you the deep, dark, nasty stuff. Or every time Jennifer and I want to punch each other in the face. But I will tell, I'll get on there and be like, hey, this is what I sucked at today. Mindset's such a buzzword in 2018 that I don't want to drag it into 2019 with us. But when you do start realizing some stuff about yourself that's been holding you back and you start working on it, it's super eye-opening, man. Yeah. And you can connect it to everything.
I still don't think I could do it.
Dude, I struggle with it, but I see the value, because just think if you documented everything that you did and had it out there on a public platform, how accountable would you be to going back and watching that and be like, man, I really did fucking suck yesterday? Yeah. Because I mean, I'm an avid reader, and that's my biggest takeaway from rereading books mostly about mindset and stuff like that is I know all of this shit and I don't do 60% of it. No. I just need to. I need to hold myself more accountable, but there's no mnemonic device I have to do that, right? If I just put everything on Facebook in a very candid way, I can just go back to my wall for the last week and be like, man, I fucked up 7 times last week. Yep. Every day.
I'm using it differently because I'm the one who will lose one client and obsess about that client when I have 5 other ones that are ready to go, right? So I'm trying to stop, like, be a little bit more transactional, like you guys. Like, look, you're gonna if you're ever doing large volume, you're gonna lose some.
Right.
Yeah, but you can ask my entire team. You can ask my wife Heather. When I lose one, like, our motto is we hate to lose more than we like to win, right? We want that competitive nature in somebody. Like, if one of you guys beat us, I still, just like, we beat you on that one referral, but I said, if we lost it, I would much rather lose it to you than somebody else.
All the time.
Right? But I still would dwell on the fact that we lost it. Or when I get a negative review, or, it's been far and few between now. In the beginning, there was a few more out there, but I would dwell on that, right? That would ruin my entire day and week, right? Because I'm like, a lot of times what they're saying, I'm like, some of it may be a little true, but it's really, the other part's not. But that's, the perception becomes reality.
Yeah. Right.
And so, that's definitely something. But what I was going to ask is, what questions are you asking to make sure that you're always improving, right? Because, again, last night was an eye-opener that our systems were over-systematized to almost to the point that we suck, in my opinion. Right? Some other people wouldn't say it, but, like, I asked the question, how does TGHT evolve from a traditional real estate company that chases business to a media style company that gets a unified message out that attracts consistent business?
Yeah. The one thing I think you do the most is video.
Right.
I think video is huge for that.
But are you asking that style questions in your business, right? Yeah. Because a lot of us aren't.
That's a great question.
Right? Because we talked about it, and you was like saying, hey, prospecting in the next 24 months, what does that look like?
I mean, those are the same questions we've been. I mean, not and maybe with that level of eloquence, but same question I've been asking myself is how have the methods of conversation changed, and how does our business need to change to the way that we converse with people nowadays? Yeah. That's all we do. That's all marketing is just conversation, right?
And how do you make that recession proof? Because in a recession, typically marketing should be pulled back a little bit because a prospecting based company typically thrives during the recession. So how do you make sure that in that new world where you've got people teaching how to, if you're getting robocalls, how to kind of con them out of money. I'm going to call it con. There's some people out there doing that, to where, we're all tired of robocalls. Text messages may start falling in the same feature, the same way. Right. So how do we make sure that we stay relevant? And if it's only video, if it's only that, you've got to start probably doing that now, because that takes that hockey stick build up. Right. Because if we're teaching this in 24 months, we're like, well, you can't really make those expire calls anymore. Yep. You're going to get shot at door knocking. No one answers their phone. Right. They're thinking you're trying to make you convert to a different religion. Yep. Right. So how do we start getting business if you have no sphere? No one likes you at that time. Yeah.
The database, not having a database makes it a lot harder. Right, because like you guys over the years have probably amassed a monster database.
Huge, but we didn't use it the way we should have.
Of course, but you could. There's a large agent who just joined our office recently, and they have a enormous database. Yeah. And one of the team leaders was telling me today, like they just went in and started calling back through it and set like 4 appointments. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that helps a lot for the three of us. Right. Dude, I'll be honest with you. As a new agent right now coming into real estate, it's not that I wouldn't know what to tell them. But there's so many things changing right now that the way that I did real estate early on, I would not recommend doing that for anybody right now. I mean, not at all. And I think the big thing for I don't know, any agent who's struggling right now is you have to look at what you suck at and be honest with yourself. Yeah. And here's the thing is it's not about what you feel comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with door knocking. I'm not even comfortable with cold calling people for the most part. I'm willing to do it though, because my why, right, is bigger or whatever. And I don't think there's any secret recipe, man. You've got to be willing to show up and do work and take your nose and realize that your conversion percentage is going to be low, and be willing to get into relationship with people. And that looks like a million different things. Right.
And part of it is just like you just said, show up and do the work. I mean, that means something different to everybody. Sure. For me, showing up and do the work means showing up and talking to people that I already know, but I don't want to talk to, and expanding my sphere and being more relational, right? That's really difficult for me, right? Some people showing up and doing the work means something completely different. But if you think that you're going to get into this business in any market at any time and not have to do stuff that makes you really uncomfortable and you're going to be successful, it's just not going to happen, right? Yeah. And I think that's why we have such a big burnout rate in this industry, is because people just don't like to be uncomfortable. I think now more than ever, people who were doing business a certain way for a long time need to get uncomfortable again. And that's just going back to your roots, dude.
Well, and I want to know too, I mean, because I know we're getting ready to wrap this up, but I want to hear, because you've been through the end of a shifting market. You've brought on a significant amount of people in the past 90 days or so. And you guys are doing, like, what the hell are you guys doing right now? That's significant, right? Not what you're messing up, but.
Well, I'm only focusing on what we're messing up right now.
Well, yeah.
Look, here's what I'm proud of, my guys. Everybody has taken a listing, got a deal under contract. Look, you know, I always focus on I'm a worst case. Sky's falling. We're going out of business. You know, tomorrow I won't have any
That's why
money.
we get along so well.
Yeah, right. You know, so I mean, what
Nick
we do.
and I are building a fallout shelter underneath my house.
It's amazing.
I'll come to you guys when the shit hits the fan.
It's glorious.
I'm going to live in my sunshine for now, though.
But I mean, look, my guys follow me blindly.
Yeah.
I know that there's days they question, and what we do very well is the value and showing that if you look, we broke this process down. And so, and I'll be happy to share. So whatever, where you're watching this, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, if you're listening to it on a podcast, you know, reach out to us. Go find us on Facebook. Drop us a message. If you're listening to this on podcast, please review this 5 stars. We would love to get.
Absolutely.
Know, obviously, our feelings are hurt if we leave us a negative review.
Mine are for sure.
But we've made this an easy step-by-step process. So when I provide value, I say, Kelderman, if I can show you a way to make 6 figures, because everybody I bring in on this team wants to make $100,000. That's what I wanted, and it hasn't changed in 15 years.
Yep.
Right? So I have got a stair step to show you that all you have to do is set 1 appointment a day. If you follow our program, do you truly believe that you can average 1 appointment a day? Everyone, it's not hard. If you really process, it's not hard. You need to do 3.5 closings a month with our average commission and average sales price. Actually, we lowered our average sales price with a market shift, so it's typically higher. That's over $100,000 you make. Mm-hmm. So we simplified the process. Everything gets overcomplicated. So we did start doing that last year. I'm gonna pat ourselves on the back of we started that stair step program. That's, you know, myself, Elizabeth, and Alex. Elizabeth runs my team. Alex runs all the smart systems behind me, who is sometimes too smart. But that's what we do well, right? We prospect. We will call you. We will text you. But we are looking in the future because we understand that those rates are starting to decline, and we're going more community based. So I'm going to put more money in community events. Like the date night is not being sponsored by any of my vendors. Right? I don't want to muddy those waters. Yeah. Right? We're doing I think an egg hunt in the next for Easter. Right? So we're going to start doing that. We've got our staple 2 events we rent out a movie theater for back to school, and then we do a pumpkin patch one, and that's been huge hits. Mm-hmm. Now, what we're going to do better is we're going to have our agents reach out to their own sphere, which we weren't doing before. We've only been doing video and email blasts to get people to come. We're going to start calling behind it. We're going to call after it to start thanking people. Right? Old school methods with new modern, styles. And that's what it is, getting back belly to belly, face to face.
Yeah, that's awesome. The community events, I think, is where it's at. That's what we're trying to do this year too. So, and
it's hard. It's expensive. I mean, there's ways to cheapen it, and there was something that I actually got out of one of the real estate conventions last year was, look, it doesn't matter how many people actually show up to your event. So you actually want to tie it to something that maybe your cost goes up when people actually show up. So if no one shows up, then you're not really spending any money. Right. But it's the thought, the message that counts. Exactly. So, she was talking about an ice cream social, and it was, every time someone showed up, it was like $1. She negotiated down. So if someone didn't show up, it didn't cost her any money. But she was able to reach out. And when someone didn't show up, they called them the next week. Hey, so sorry, we missed you. You can come to the next one. Be on the lookout. And then you open it up to everyone. Before we complicated by only wanting to bring people that sent us a referral or had done business with us. No, I open it to everybody. Yeah. And I got that a little bit from some of the real estate conventions and my buddy Denton Guam. Yeah, he's done that really well.
Yeah, I like it.
So we start ripping off what other people do because that's what works. Like you're a great relationship person. This is not something like we built some strong relationships here that normally I would say, fuck it, y'all are competitors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's something that we all can evolve on. If I can build relationships with my clients and get referrals, everybody else.
Everybody
can.
should.
If Brian can hang out with his people, everybody else can.
Yeah, right.
That's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go.
Yeah, we can wrap this up. So let's do a kind of like a final call off. Like, we want people to, whatever way you're watching this, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will be out after this.
Yes.
It's not out right now.
Yes.
We're learning this leverage part as we go.
Yeah.
Right.
They're walking it out with us.
Yeah. And then let us know who you want on the show. Like, we are going to, and this is a call out for Kyle Draper.
Yes.
This is an
please do.
apology message for how crappy that last one was. We want you in here.
We got an empty seat right here.
Yes. Yeah. And so what are you guys wanting?
Yeah.
Right? I want some systems people.
Right.
I'm going to bring on one of our Facebook guys that's running some cool stuff. They can Skype in. We've got your expansion guy, David Hill, that we've got lined up.
Okay.
Maybe Ryan Stuman, who's built out some huge funnels. So what are you guys hoping to see from this? Because we've committed to a year.
Yeah.
I want to see value every week, right? And that's a moving goalpost. I want to see, this show is not just supposed to be about real estate. This is supposed to be about building a real estate business, which is the same as building really any other business at its core. So I think just talking about the market, just talking about what's going on with us or whatever, that's great, but that's going to get old pretty quickly. I want a piece of value every week that someone can take away from this and go, I really learned something that I might be able to implement that can up my bottom line.
Yeah. And here's, for me, at the end of the day, we have the opportunity to instill some integrity back in our industry, which has been lost because everybody with a pulse got a real estate license to put a sign in somebody's yard. And so even if you don't join our teams, even if you don't do anything, take something from this and go out there and do better for your clients and represent the industry as a whole better. So when we walk into appointments, we don't have to justify the jackassery that happened by whatever agent was before. So if you're finding stuff useful, let us know what it is. If you want us to expound on a topic, because we mow through some stuff every once in a while here.
Right.
Let us know, right? And we'll spend more time and dig into it. But yeah, I think the guests we're gonna have on this year are gonna be pretty badass.
Love it.
Yeah,
Wednesdays
so
at 3.
Yep.
Live. You can catch the replay.
This Monday at 3.
Monday at 3. Since Force is going out of town again.
Again.
This is the last time.
So, and then review us, comment, tag it, share it, love it, like it,
Absolutely.
all that good stuff.
Boom.
Yep.
So I'm excited, guys.
I love it. I love the setup. I love Christina in there knocking it out for us.
Yes.
Like making everything awesome. So anyways, it's good to be back in the same room with you guys. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yep.
Catch you next Monday.
Yes, ma'am. Take us out.